Today we are going to be doing portraits. And a portrait is a picture of a person. And the portraits are going to be influenced by the artist, director, Tim Burton. And Tim Burton was born in California, and he is a very popular American director who directed some very famous movies. For example, Edward Scissorhands, Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Beetlejuice, which was a popular one when I was a kid. And then he started doing some animated films, for example, Corpse Bride. And he also worked on the project, not as a director, but he worked on the project Nightmare Before Christmas. And the style that's in the animated movies done by Tim Burton is kind of dark style, very quirky, whimsical, and visually imaginative. And what he does is he exaggerates the facial features. For example, the eyes are stylized and typical in his art as very, very large. So when we're going to be doing some Tim Burton images, what we want to do is we want to look at the person, or if it's ourself, as a self-portrait, we want to look to see what is an unusual or a very prominent characteristic trait of that person. For example, do they have certain shaped mouths or a certain particular face? For example, on this person, a very rounded face. We can also, in our characters, play off of the styles of the hair, if they have some unusual characteristic traits of their hair. For example, this student had some little curls coming down in front of here. So you want to keep in mind those characteristic traits when you're creating your own portrait. And all of the portraits, what we're going to be doing today is having larger stylized eyes. When we first do these characters, we're going to be copying Tim Burton's style, but then we're going to be putting something that's unique to our art. We're going to be thinking of things that we can add to make it not so exactly like Tim Burton. And when we describe Tim Burton's artwork, it's in the style of Burton-esque. That's the unofficial term when we talk about this type of style of art. So we want to have some of his style in there, but then we also want to give it something of our own. So if we play off of the characteristics of maybe the hair shape, or we play off of some of the other elements, maybe adding some pattern into our shirt to make it more of our unique style. The first thing we want to do when we start our picture is we want to decide what characteristic trait we're going to be exaggerating for the portrait that we're going to be making. If we want to really focus on the styles and the hair, we're going to be exaggerating the eyes, but is there anything else that's unique to that person that we want to exaggerate or play up? For example, ears, maybe different styles of mouth or lips. Sometimes we can make the mouth larger than life or smaller than life. Same thing with the nose. The body, if we want to do some interesting body shape or pattern with the shirt, we can play off of those ideas. So we're going to decide the shape of the face. So you look at the person and decide, is it more of a heart-shaped face? Is it more of a oval, rectangular, square, circular? And we start with simple shapes like that. And then you can obviously combine. Maybe it's oval at the top and then more squared off jaw down at the bottom. This one is an example of more of a rounded head. Here, we're doing a side view portrait. This is more of kind of an egg shape head. Here you have an oval shape head here. This is a side view with an angled jaw. When I did this example, the student had more of a pointed chin. So play off of the shapes of the heads. And this one is from Tim Burton's actual artwork. And I believe this came from Corpse Bride, an image similar to this. So we think of the head shape or face shape first. Then we're going to add exaggerated eyes. And if the person has, say, prominent eyelashes, then you can always add in the eyelashes as well. For example, here, and here's just the closed eye. So decide if you want to have eyelashes. Decide if you want it to be kind of distorted or deformed. Here you have the eyes that are kind of deformed here, or closed or swollen. And then work up other facial features, your nose, your mouth. And I have some worksheets. If you click the link, it'll take you to a teacher website and information. It'll have worksheets for students to use with little cartoon characters drawn of different face shapes and eye shapes for kids to pick from, or you can draw your own. So once you have that done, then you're going to be adding a neck and some shoulders, and then, of course, doing the styles in the hair. Play off of the shapes of the hair. Draw the hair in simplified outline first, and then we're going to be adding some of the texture in the hair. I have some lines here, you can see in here. This will illustrate curly hair. And here we have longer straight hair. And I like adding some little bits of interesting line to this, just to give a more interest to your picture. Right here. So now I'm going to demonstrate a simple process of how I go about doing this. You can sketch this out with pens, Sharpie, pencil. For my students, we're going to be using water-soluble graphite sticks. You can also use a water-soluble crayon. And what we do is, I use 12 by 18 paper today for this demonstration. Mine is 8.5 by 11. So my hand is going to be the size of the head, about this large. If you're going to be doing larger paper like this, your head, you want to take up most of the page here. Notice I have a little bit down here from the for the torso, and then a little bit above here. Okay, so the first step in the center is where I'm going to do my head shape. First, to decide if you want a side view image, or do you want a front view portrait. And if you're beginning, it's always best probably to just start with a simple front view portrait. Decide the shape of your face. And again, I refer my students to a worksheet to find some shapes of faces, or just use your eyes and visually look at shapes of faces in your classroom and draw your face shape. And don't be too picky about having a line so perfect. I never even have my students erase it. So I'm going to just start off with, I'll just do a simple oval shape right here. And then I'm going to put in I'm going to do the top of the head as an oval. Then of course I'm going to be adding my hair to this. I'm going to stick in halfway, it's going to be very large eyes. So I'm going to just do some oval eyes, 2 ovals, and then I'm going to just do a simple nose. This will be an upturned nose here. And then I'm going to do a simple mouth. And then I'll add the different lips. And I'm going to do an ear shape, just kind of a curve on one side, curve on the other. 2 lines down for the neck, shoulders, and some kind of a shirt line. So it's a very simplified version of a face, cartoon version. Pupils, Tim Burton-esque style is always very small little pupils. And of course, you can always change that. It doesn't have to be always his style. If you want to add any important features like eyebrows, maybe the person has distinct eyebrows, like I talked about before, maybe eyelashes and whatnot. I'll make this a male figure, so I'm not going to really add too much eyelashes here. And then do the hairstyle. And I always say, look at different hairstyles, decide on your character. For this one, I think I'm going to have some male character, and I'm going to have it come up with some kind of spike to the top, just kind of the edge. So sketch out the outline of the hairstyle. For example, this one has an interesting curl coming up and around. And I play off of these beautiful curved lines. I want the hair to be an interesting feature of my character. See how this beautiful curve comes in and around? Same thing with some of these hairstyles here. This plays off of some interesting parts of the person. And example of this one, where I had the hairline come down here. And then I had some interesting fun curls at the bottom, or flips. Here's some spiky hairstyle. So you're gonna decide what kind of hairstyle you want. And then with the graphite stick, I'm gonna start with lines, and I draw the hair in the direction of the way the hair is styled. So I'm gonna come like this. I'm gonna get a forehead shape though. I want an interesting forehead line. And I'm gonna put a little bit of an ear design in here. And then anywhere that I want darker shadow, I wanna add more line with my graphite stick because I want more dark color here. So I want it to be shaded from dark to light to give more depth and value. If I want any more dark here, for example, I want a little bit more dark here on the neck to create some shadow. And I'm gonna put a little bit more dark line here to blend down. And then I'll have some shoulder right in here. And again, if you wanna add any pattern to make it interesting, I'll put some stripes here. Coming down. And then simply, once you have it all done, we're gonna simply go to a little bit of water. I'm gonna start creating some value. And what I do is I dip my brush in. Wash your brush first always, and then I'm going to add a little bit. I'll start with the neck down here, and all you do is barely touch the color, and this is going to melt instantly with these beautiful graphite sticks. Now I want this to be the values coming in, so I'm not going to blend this out, and I'm certainly not going to move my brush across the whole page and smear everything together. Now the graphite sticks are pretty powerful. They're very dark. They have a lot of intense color. So I'm going to wash my brush now, dry it off a bit, and just add a little bit of water to the edge. And then it'll have a nice gradation of color going from dark to light. And I'm gonna wash my brush again and add just water here. If I didn't wash the brush again, what would happen is it would just be too dark. And this area would turn all pure black. But I wanted a nice dark value here on the shadow to create some a tonal painting. You can see how when I add my water, it just kind of bleeds and drips down. If that's the effect you like, you can keep it like that. I'm just adding water and melting these edges. And I'm bringing it in to create the 3D effect of the neck. Adding water. And then I'm just gonna go about adding water, bringing this in. You can see how it melts really cool. It just blends right in right together. Coming up in here. I'm gonna dry this. If it's too much water, dry your brush so you have more of a lighter value. Usually in the face, the midline of the face is gonna be lighter. The edges of the face are gonna be darker. Think of it as an egg shape or a circle, or a ball, a sphere. The edges on a sphere, when you create a shadow, are gonna be darker, and then the top of the light source in the center is gonna be lighter. So I'm bringing more pure water here, blending it in. And then my eyes. Tim Burton, when he does his eyes, most of the time the shadows, the eye actual circle is white, and then the shadows go into the outer edge skin here, just like this. You can decide if you want to do it like that, like he does, or you could do it opposite, where you bring the color into the eyeball. That's up to your picture, how you want to do it. I'm going to wet this carefully. I don't want to bring too much color into the eyeball. Wash, and then I'm adding just pure water to blend. And then you decide how you want to do your facial features. I like, for example, if you want to color in the lips, etc., I like to leave this just a black and white value study. Some kids like to add a little bit of color. You can have it black and white with hints of color. Now, when I do my hair, I want the hair to be darker value. That's why we did a lot more line in the hair. So I'm going to bring up this area where it meets the forehead or where it meets the head. And I'm just going to carefully wet this area. And then I'm going to wash my brush a bit and then just hit the lines. I want this to be darker, and then it goes lighter, and then the tips, to create some kind of depth in the head or hair. I want depth around the ears, so it's darker. That's why I did more line here. And it's a very quick process, and actually it's really enjoyable, very enjoyable creating these characters. So once you've made one, try several others, and then try a side view. Here.